I have so much that I have to say about this. The ability of actors to be able to put emotions into their acting, the confusion that actors get when they're working with emotions, when they're working with improvisations, when they're working in an acting scene with scripted dialogue, and they fall into emotion and they don't know how to handle themselves. This is um, these are all processes of human development, human growth, and the ability for us to be able to harness ourselves and our talent as actors and as artists. And, you know, there's a lot to this. I mean, you could be struggling to be able to put anger or rage or bountifulness, bravado. I mean, there's a list here. I've got huge amounts: amicability, amusement, arousal, and assurance. Look, the best way to put any emotion at all, into your acting would be by able to activate it yourself, have it living within you, and then literally have it reactivated by the acting partner. The acting partner reactivates because you're connected to them in a way that you're receiving. And when you receive them, and all of a sudden a new spark of trembles of I don't know, it could be arousal, it could be a befuddlement, it could be uh, belligerence. Something gets hit within you because of the connection and that essence. Now we have to always I have to always remind people that the feeling is not the emotion. Emotion is going to be deeper. Emotion is has depth. A feeling has an inclination. It has a could be true, could not be true. It has a possible suspicion of something being actual. That's what a feeling is. When you work with your feelings in your acting, sometimes, look, emotional preparation is this incredible thing, but many people forget emotional activation. Activation is the very last part of emotional preparation. You're crafting your ability to be able to resonate yourself within a certain range of frequency. That is an emotional frequency. Now, if you resonate yourself with a feeling, you are resonating with a possibility or an inclination, or it could be true, could not be true, which is sometimes part of how we enter in scenes as actors. But we want to also include, we want to go beyond the suspicion of something being there, even if there's a suspicion there in the acting scene or the acting before the acting scene starts and you're coming to confront somebody because you have a suspicion about something. Great. Well, you still have to go beyond the element of feeling. You got to go beyond the element of feeling. You want to be able to tap into and get the emotion of something that's deeper. The emotion is going to carry through the interaction at the door, in the acting exercises, in the acting scenes. In if there's no door where you're entering into an acting scene, you're just going to enter in, and the emotion, having the emotion awakened, which is the self activation. This is the emotional mastery that artists do, the actors do, to be able to activate themselves for their life and within the acting interaction. I call it acting interaction because there's all kinds of words. There's given circumstances, there's imaginary circumstances um, within the acting scenes, and then you get mixed up with the language between. Um, Many times there'll be languages for theater things. There'll be different teachers that have different ideas to be able to understand the work, which sometimes it depends on the student. All these kinds of things can be helpful, and we have to be able to stay open and receiving whatever's going to help us as actors. And what helps us is then we end up developing our own acting technique. But regardless, it's going to break down into the nuance of emotion. Emotion is king and queen, both king and queen of everything having to do with acting, arts, entertainment, and performance. When you break down it into emotion, you break down your work into a way that you now have malleability, you have texture in your work, you have the ability of being able to juggle more than just one moment. If the moments get very specific, and then you only have a single moment, you have complete and a lot of clarity in the scene because you're able to isolate that specific resonance. The resonance of emotion gets resonated by you first in self activation, and then you jump in to be able to do the resonation in the with your partner. So your partner is going to be in the interaction, the acting interaction. This happens in imaginary circumstances, in given circumstances, in acting scenes, all of it. The craft of being able to understand when you go in to an acting scene and you have a feeling, and this is something I've seen over I think it's around 8,000 acting classes. And it's literally this whole thing where you've got a tingulation, you've got a feeling, and you can see sometimes in the work I've seen where the actors will go, and I was able to watch the actors not only being able to do all of the work, but I was able to watch all of the emotional preparation of all of the work. That means every single time that the actor took a stage, I was able to sit within feet of them to be able to study that aspect. When I was teaching the classes, sometimes I couldn't see that part of the work, which is different. But the thing is to be able to see the activation of the actor is a lesson of two, which is incredibly unique. For me to be able to have had all of those experiences with 8,000 classes, because it's incredible. So typically, the actor will awaken some sort of something in themselves, and you'll see in the acting scenes, and if you look in the acting exercises that you work in your classes, you will see that the emotion doesn't really get deep enough. But then, if the connection is there, they have the connection between the actors are staying open to each other, and even if they're only emotionally preparing on a feeling, then all of a sudden they will still stay connected, and then a spark will happen, and then there'll be another whole thing that will happen, and it will surprise the actor themselves. Now, that was a lot of words to say, that you want to be able to have the surprise of the other actor in you. But go back and hear how this is going to work. You're working to be able to. I suggest people listen to these videos twice, because there's a lot of things that will just spill out of my mouth, and sometimes I will have no idea what I've said, except for I know it's exactly on point. And this is because of improvisation training, because of the work of studying acting. This is because of the way that we work with actors to be able to find and mine our impulses. So what I'm describing here is a moment in acting scenes where the actress, or well, in this case, the actress was simply activated, not so much by her emotional preparation in the acting exercise, but she went in and she starts doing the interaction, and she was surprised by the other actor. Now, she was surprised by the other actor. That, in that essence, that actually tapped into the emotion. The emotion then started activating in her. Now, when she was able to get the emotion activated in herself, and this happened, and it happened naturally with improvisation, with the ability, because she was open and connected and had the spontaneity not to block that off when it happened. She remained open to that would happen. All of a sudden, the emotion, the thing went from a tingulation of feeling, which kind of left at the door, or left in the early part of the acting scene, and then all of a sudden it goes in, and it's like this, like all of a sudden there's a spark, and she was able to keep herself open, and then all of a sudden she went down into her emotions elevator. Now all of a sudden there was an emotion. Now, because she had an emotion herself, then the other actor, the guy actor, he was well, now all of a sudden, now he was able to get that moment. It was clear enough for him. It was spontaneous enough. It was caught him off guard enough that he couldn't get rid of it. And then by default, now he is learning the acting technique of being able to do improvisation. So it's dramatic improvisation where, there's comedic elements of it. But the thing is that because of the initiation of the, in this case, it's the guy that does the connections like that. But often women are more receptive than men, and we just have to accept that as men. It's not something that's negative. We all have our own ways of being able to work with stuff. It takes a lot of work for a man to become possibly as sensitive as a woman, although a lot of times women will struggle with not with allowing that to happen in them. Sometimes there'll be an element where they'll block off their own experience to be able to have that. And you see that often in acting classes all across the board. So when we're dealing with emotion, we're dealing with this ability to be able to try to activate, self-activate something within ourselves before the acting scene, which is great. That's a wonderful piece of it. But we're also looking at the ability to be able to have the interaction itself. We're looking for us ourselves to be able to be open to the surprise. We want to be open to the surprise of the other actor. And when the surprise happens, if we don't know on which moment it will happen. And this is the same thing when we're working with scripted scenes. We don't know what moments are going to be surprising in the acting. We just know that there's going to be a moment of surprise. There's going to be a moment of connectionness. The connectedness is going to spark something, and the spark is then going to be either rejected by us or it's going to be accepted by us. And what we have to train ourselves, and this is the tricky discipline of acting, is we have to train ourselves that when we experience those types of ups, there's ups and downs or the ebbs and flows of the exercises that way, we want to be able to for the majority of the part, try and always receive it. And then, that means that we don't really know what our initial reaction is going to be to what we're receiving, but we're going to be okay with us, with ourselves having that kind of expression. So look, I've got emotions books, I've got Reasons at the Doors books, and I've got Meisner Activities, of course. So listen, thanks for listening. Thanks so much. Bye.